Leos. Leos, I am not going to cry. I am not going to cry during this video. It's crazy how emotional you all make me. I'm starting to wonder, is it because of my aqua moon? Is it because of a significant Leo that I haven't met? I'm starting to wonder, like, why do you have such a pull on my emotions? I mean, it's just noticeable. It's just been very noticeable, your effect on me, the energy, Leos. And, you know, maybe I'm talking about the fact that Leos have just been going through it for the end of 2018, from really like October-ish and onward. Maybe a lot of you that have found LunarticksTarot are just have really been going through it. But we will see right now what the effects of this magical Cancer cold full moon have been and continue to be for Leos. Okay. Three of Swords, Knight of Wands, the Devil, Page of Cups, Four of Pentacles. The Moon card, Seven of Pentacles. I want to go one deep, one deeper. Ace of Swords. So this magical Cancer full moon has brought some certain heartbreak for a lot of you. I think, to put it plainly, I think you were involved in a very toxic situation and it had to be released, and it has broken your heart. Now, I keep saying this to you for the last few months. The reality of the situation is that the messages are for those of you who just continue to go through it. I keep saying, you know, that a lot of you have been going through this for some time. And again, I say this in every reading now, everything here is on a spectrum. So it's more intense. It's the same experience for many Leos, but it's more intense for some than others, and it goes on longer for some than others. So I'm speaking to those who have continued to hold on, continued to go back, continued this negative cycle, and who can blame you? I'm not judging. We all do it sometimes. Someone you just haven't been able to let go of, perhaps because it's not a romantic relationship. For some of you, you know, it's been a matter of a heartbreaking entanglement with like a family member or a close friend who, you know, maybe it was their addiction and you were a piece of their toxic situation, and hell no, you weren't going to give up on them. You know, it's a different kind of love, and you weren't about to walk away. There's that. Temperance card represents your advice, balance, and harmony. Five of shells, cups, chalices, water on the bottom of this deck, Spirit Song Tarot. So for some of you, it was an outright codependent situation. And that can be true regardless of whether it was a romantic situation or any other kind of loving situation. For a few of you, it could have been a job that you didn't want to leave, but it was toxic, it was unhealthy. But for most of you, I'm seeing a relationship here. And you've been battling this for some time, not wanting to give up on this person, not wanting to let go. I mean, of course you didn't. Whether it was a codependency or not, you were addicted to the situation, the person, the energy. honestly, for me, you know, for a lot of people, that type of connection, human connection, can be more addictive than any substance, or just as. It's not to demean those of you who have been dealing with the other, but for most of you, I am seeing a relationship, a loving relationship that on some level was just not healthy for you. And this magical moon has gifted you with finally separating you from this energy, this person, this toxic situation. And it's such a gift because now there is space in your life for this mystic energy speeding toward enlightenment. Time for you to research those things that make you come alive, those things that can actually take the place of this person in a sense. They can keep you company and literally keep you warm, give you a warm feeling at night, because they're the things that you love to research and to learn and to know about yourself and the world around you and love in general. Maybe your own mystic interests, maybe your own expanding on your own extra senses, looking into your dreams, dissecting them. What is your subconscious and your higher self calling you toward? And for others, this Knight of Wands is representing like-minded individuals and kindred spirits coming into your life to fill that space, that hole that's been left by this toxic, unhealthy energy leaving. I'm not going to cry. I said I wasn't. I'm not going to do it. But you see here, you see how she's touching one of these swords, putting her finger to the point of one of them, as if she's saying, did I cause that? That's what I see usually when I look at this. Did I do that to myself? And that's what some of the heartbreak is. That's what some of the weight is for you at this time, Leos, is the knowledge that some of the pain that you feel, it was your own doing. You held on for so long. And I'm more so talking to those of you who were in a more romantic relationship now. But even codependent situations with family members and friends, you know, did you enable them? And I'm, you know, I don't mean to rub it in or to make it hurt worse, but okay, a couple different messages coming through now, but yeah, there's two of those swords, you know, she's not touching, but the one she is. A lot of this pain was just part of your path and inevitable, so to speak. But some of it is from having drug it out for so long, you know, letting it take so long for the healing to begin. And yeah, so some of what you're dealing with is your own regret. Wondering, I think some of you are wondering if miscommunication wasn't at play, and it always is in human relations. We miscommunicate way more than we actually communicate. Like, sit with that. Everyone does. We miscommunicate way more often than we actually communicate. Even lovers lying next to one another think very different thoughts, right? That Maya Angelou poem. My tech will just forever give me problems. Sorry. But yeah, so some of you are carrying so much weight because, you know, you're feeling like, how much of this was my fault? How much did I enable someone? Or how much of the miscommunication may have been my fault that I didn't take into account? But Leos. Like I said, so much of what has happened was inevitable, was part of your path, was happening for a reason. Consider this, for instance. these like-minded individuals and kindred spirits that can now enter your life, that you now have made room and space for in your life, okay? How has the painful path that you have been on for so long now, that has finally amounted in this break, this painful release at this full moon, this suffocating, stabbing pain that I know a lot of you are feeling, how has that path led you to the right time and the right place and the right moment to where just the right kindred spirits and like-minded individuals can now enter and inform your life? And please hear me when I say that, because a lot of you, that is the thing you have to hold on to now. You know, it's just like when someone's running late for a very important date, for a very important appointment. I always say, like, well, you never know. If you had been running 10 minutes early, you could have gotten into a car crash and never made it anywhere ever again. And people roll their eyes and they scoff at me. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to. Who wants to hear that? But think of the gravity of what I've just said. Think of the reality of that situation. Like, maybe not, but maybe you could have hurt yourself or someone else. Maybe you could have, as I said, never made it anywhere ever again, let alone to your appointment on time, right? But in the moment, we want that immediate gratification. And I'm by no means demeaning your pain to, you know, being late for something. But consider that these energies, these people now that might end up being your life partner or your best friend moving forward, or just someone who opens you up to a whole new world that you never knew was right around you in some way, by informing your work or your creativity or all the above, showing you a new kind of love, bringing a new type of health and balance into your life, right? Consider that it needed to be just this person or just these people. It needed to be just that kindred spirit, just that like mind. And if you hadn't drawn the pain out for so long, if you hadn't gone through the painful experiences that brought you here, you may never have met these people that now are invited into this open space that feels like an open wound right now. But it's this open space that you have in your life and in your heart. And they're right in the same place that you are now, maybe mentally and emotionally, but I more so meaning physically. You know, they're here right now, right on time. That, you know, that's the magic of the multiverse. That's the divine showing up in ways that we can't fathom and understand all the time. Just consider that it had to happen just this way. And what's really called for here as advice is forgiveness. And I think above all else for yourself, because I think a lot of you are carrying this weight all by yourself, like you have somehow done an injustice to yourself, to your own life, thinking you've wasted a lot of time, thinking you've maybe done irreparable damage to, depending on how toxic the situation it was, maybe thinking that you've done irreparable damage to yourself, to your heart, to your psyche. Give it time. Give it time. Give these other people time to get there and to come in to your life and to show you that that's not true. And listen to your dreams. In the near future, it looks like you are encountering this offer of love. Okay, now for some of you, I'm talking about an offer of love from the like-minded individuals, from the kindred spirits that are coming in. And if there's a Sagittarius that has a lot to say to you right now, if there's a Sagittarius that is coming in, is showing up as one of these kindred spirits, these like-minded individuals, you are definitely advised to accept the offer on some level. I'm not saying you're ready for a new relationship yet, but to accept the love on some level, accept that gift, because Temperance reminds me of Sagittarius, the Knight of Wands reminds me of Sagittarius, and then I see this Page of Cups. This could be that person I'm talking about who just, you know, offers you love, even in a platonic form, you know, and I don't mean to say even in, but, you know, probably most prominently in a platonic form for a lot of you. I doubt that right out of a toxic codependent situation, you're ready to jump into something else. I do not advise that. You know, this isn't about what I advise for you, but I don't think that the reading is advising that. I don't think that the cards would advise that ever. But there is this message to accept the love in some form. For a lot of others of you, though, this is something that you're offering yourself. Again, the advice is to find forgiveness for the situation. Find forgiveness for the other person if need be to move forward, for sure, because forgiveness is not about them. It's about you being able to accept and move forward. And above all else, though, the overwhelming, resounding message here is for to find forgiveness for yourself. To really, if you're going to carry weight, see and carry the weight of what I said about the fact that it may have had to happen just this way so you could find just this or these people who are going to come in and fill that space in your heart and in your life now. Now, moving forward, you're protecting your boundaries, okay? I do think that in the near future, a lot of you can and should turn to your dreams for you know, to console yourself. I can't find the right word. To console yourself during this period of readjustment, in order to find hope. If you're just grasping at something, if you're looking at these tarot readings because you're grasping at anything to find some hope, turn to your dreams. You know, and I say that as someone who lately, you know, I can truly relate to how confusing your dreams can be. I have, and I think that I'm going to talk about myself, but I think that this is, yeah, I think this experience has been a lot for you, because for some reason, Leos, you always choke me up. I always feel so connected to you, and oftentimes, you know, as a mystic, as a reader, since I've started, especially reading for many people at once, my own messages and experiences are for you, are so that I can then relate to you. And I have been inspecting and dissecting, delving into and questioning and loving my vivid, detailed dreams. And I have many different types, visitations and premonitions and many different types. But I have been exploring them since I was very young, since I was old enough to read. I had a book about dreams in my hand, okay? And I always want to talk about them. No one wants to hear my detailed accounts. But lately, just like literally in the last like week or so, during this period of time that I've also been going, gosh, why am I so connected to Leos? I have found new reasoning behind when people say, well, they're just so confusing. I've always dissected them to a point where I've thought, well, if you really sit with them and you write them down and you think about them, you know, you can figure out what you're trying to tell yourself. I understand now what other people are talking about how confusing they can be. Lately, I just have not understood. And I'm sure there's much going on astrologically that could explain that for me and in my own chart, etc. But Leos, what I'm trying to spit out here is, even if you're someone who has trouble remembering them, work toward it. Even if you're someone who they're always confusing to you, you're just like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't tell me anything. I don't understand the symbolism. Part of your problem may be that you're hopping online and you're trying to figure out what other people say certain things represent. That can be informative, you know, like I said, I've always also read about them, but above all else, you listen to yourself. What do you think it means? I mean, if you sat down with a shrink, for instance, they would first and foremost ask you, well, what do you think it means? and listen to your instinct, listen to your gut reaction, listen to your intuition, that voice of certainty in your mind. Write it down, write down the colors, write down whatever details you can remember, and write down how each scene, each interaction, each person, each experience that you can grab a hold of in your dreams made you feel or makes you feel thinking back about it. Even if you can't put meaning, even if, that's why I went on about how I understand how confusing they can be. Even if they're too confusing for you to really come to a conclusion, just keep recording them. And if you know, what really helps me is using the recorder on my phone, because, you know, you wake up and you're groggy, and even though you mean to keep your journal, your dream journal near you, maybe you can't reach it, or you slept on the couch that night, whatever. And it can be difficult to get to pen and paper. You know, you have to run to the bathroom, and then you need a drink, and then the cats need food, or whatever your particular situation is. Maybe the kids are screaming. It can be difficult to get to pen and paper before you start to lose the thought, right? So but normally our phones are next to us. If you can grab your phone and just hit record and just start, that can be the most informative, right? When you're still half asleep, just start mumbling what you can remember. Because sometimes even 5 minutes later, you can't remember what was just very vivid, right? So grab your recorder and do it that way. I think that can really, really help. Yes, I can hear so much confirmation about this. I just want to say, please listen to me. I think that can really help you find the hope that you're looking for as going through this readjustment period, even moving into 2019, if it takes that long for some of you. I think that can really, really help. You know, sometimes therapeutic acts like that, like writing down your dreams, help without you ever understanding how. I had, just to talk a little bit more about me, Leos, I was in a terribly toxic relationship for almost a year. It was mentally, I think I talked about this with you last time. It was mentally, emotionally, and finally at the end, physically abusive, all three. And it, you know, sent me on a ride. I mean, all my psychic, this might encourage you too. All of my psychic abilities heightened after that. And so I'm forever grateful to him for those gifts. In you know, in that way, in that specific way. And that might, you know, this Page of Cups definitely represents Pisces to me. So that might be something that you all are running into that happens for you too. But, and that could give you hope as you move forward, you know, depending on, you know, I'm not saying your situation was as toxic as mine, but getting out of that relationship, I, you know, had some troubles just humaning thereafter. I developed a substance abuse problem trying to treat myself, and it was months before anybody realized that I had post-traumatic stress disorder from the entire ordeal. And it was I think this is the first time that I've actually gone so far as to say that in any of these videos. It's not fun to share, but it's a reality. And in any case, what ultimately worked for me was eye movement dissociation and reprocessing, EMDR. And I can't remember exactly where I cut off again, but the point that I'm getting at is, you know, this was a process that though my therapist did break it down for me, you know, this is what your brain, this is the state your brain is in, and this is specifically how this reprocessing, this therapy will work to start to fix, for lack of a better term here, your psyche, to bring you back to a healthy state again. And I understood, and it made sense in theory, and I thought, let's give it a try. And it had been advised to me by a good counselor, so I thought, certainly, let's try it. It still seemed like it would have to be a miracle for that to actually fix the state that I was in, for that to actually right, this wrong in my mind, and it worked like magic. It went. These were simple techniques this seemed like such a simple process that like I said, she did break it down for me how it would relay to fixing things in my mind, but it seemed far-fetched, I guess. It seemed like, you know, okay, in theory I can see how that would work, but to see it literally work, once it did literally heal me, I couldn't really connect the dots as to how something so simple, such a simple process, could amount to such a complete, full, total, again, magical healing. It seemed like it had to be magic. I mean, now it went along with a lot of other things. First and foremost, totally cutting off this other person. Again, I'm not saying that all of you are going through or just came out of a situation near as toxic as mine. But what we're talking about, what I'm relating this back to, is the therapeutic practice of dissecting one's dreams. And again, this, you know, all of these spreads, these are on a spectrum, since it's a general for lots of people, for multiple people. So for some of you, the situation's more toxic than others. And for some of you, maybe the message here is to research something like EMDR, because the counselor who recommended it to me said, unfortunately, and I know I'm talking to people from all different cultures here, from all different places, but the counselor who recommended it said, unfortunately, within the US, though we know this works, and though we know we see great results outside of the US, it's not exactly as popular within the US because it works. Because, you know, they don't want to see you go through, God, how many sessions did I have? I don't even think I had 10 sessions. I don't even think it was 10 sessions. They don't want to see you go to therapy a few times and then be better, not need to come back every week, not need to get a medication that you're on for goodness knows how long. And it worked so well. Again, if your situation is as toxic as mine was, or anywhere near it, first and foremost, I had to come to the conclusion that this person wasn't healthy for me, and I had to cut them off completely. I just never spoke to him again. I just came to the conclusion that my health was more important. And, if you were in a codependent situation with someone, maybe you were sticking around and not giving up on this person because of their health. But if it started to compromise your health, you have to decide that your health is the most important thing to you. And really, before you do that, until you do that, no one and nothing can help you. You have to decide that your health is most important to you. But for those of you that aren't, if you're having that extreme of a situation, that could be the reason for you finding this reading. It's something I recommend hands down to anyone who's dealing with that type of situation, that type of needing, that type of healing. But two, if it's not that extreme, I see dissecting your dreams as a similar type of therapeutic activity that you could engage in the sense that you may not be able to, if your dreams are confusing, you may not be able to see exactly how it heals you. But what happened for me is, one day it seemed like, okay, maybe this is kind of working. And then the next day or the next week, it just had worked. It just had worked. I mean, some of that was my own evolution, my own growth. Tarot was a big part of that healing process for me as well. It has, for the last 6 or 7 years, been an ancient healing art form that has certainly helped me in many, many ways, and it was part of that process. But if your situation is extreme, there's a point where this type of therapy, if you look at it that way, can only go so far, right? And maybe just different types in general are needed or required, different type of therapeutic exercises. And so if your dreams are super confusing, if you don't need an extreme solution, a more extreme solution, and your dreams are confusing to you, if you're in that camp where you don't really know what the symbolism means, you write it down, but you don't actually relate it to an event in your real life, you're not sure what's happening. Sometimes we don't need to know how it heals us for us to just wake up one day and realize that it has. you know, set the intentions before you go to bed. Ask your subconscious to do the work for you, to communicate with your conscious, you know, give me the answers that I need, you know, help me, give me the piece of information that I personally need to heal here, to heal, to move forward here. Because, you know, and then write it down. Like I said, write it down, detail it. How did that make you feel in the moment of the dream? How does it make you feel thinking back on it? What things do you recognize? What colors, even, as I said, stand out? And through a week or 2 or 3 or more of journaling this type of dream activity, and just allowing, you know, your subconscious and your conscious to speak. Even if you can't suss out, even if you can't completely comprehend how it's healing you, after a few weeks or even a few days of doing that practice, it just may begin to. I mean, and that's the message that I see here with in the near future, your dreams having something to offer you. Like I said, for others of you, though, it is going to be an offer of love from these like-minded kindred spirits coming in, from maybe for some of you, Sagittarius in particular. But if it's a love offer, okay, if it's a love offer from someone, whether it's just in the way of a platonic friend and a platonic friendship, or if it's actually romantic, one, like I said, I don't think the tarot would ever advise you to jump into something new. No matter how extreme or toxic the situation was, you're not ready yet. You just aren't. I know that because I'm a fellow human, you know, you just aren't, but you're going to be protecting your boundaries moving into 2019. It looks like, again, the timelines are slightly different for everybody, but here, thereabouts, you know, moving into 2019. I wonder if I have this too loud. Maybe not. But you're going to still feel like protecting your boundaries, okay? And what a great time to only engage in platonic friendships, to engage in these therapeutic processes with your dreams, with tarot, etc., to keep to yourself in that way, and to engage in a healing in that type of way. And I think it's a good idea to protect your boundaries at that point. I certainly do. But then I see the moon card here, right? So as you continue to progress through 2019, your boundaries are up. There's still some confusion related to this heartbreak. There's still some need to continue to dive into your subconscious. So certainly if you don't take the advice of diving into your dreams and your subconscious now, then you're going to find that need is still there moving into 2019. And I talk about dreams a lot on this channel. They're so interesting, right? I mean, we don't know what they are. I have my theories, and there are lots of theories, but we don't really, you know, science, I guess I want to say, can't technically define this for us. And like I started to expand on, there's different types. There's visitations, there are premonitions, there are just stress dreams. There are the ones that you have during the rapid eye movement phase, but then there's the vivid ones that you have in your deep sleep, right? And there's all these different categories. And there's just so much to investigate there, and we don't know what they are, right? And they are like, what I want to say is they're like nothing else. I think the reason I talk about them so much, and the importance of investigating them so much, is because they are like nothing else, like life, like love, like the tarot. And dreams are on that list for me. You can draw comparisons. We can make analogies about these things, right? You can make lots of analogies about life and about love and about the human mind, and about lots of analogies related to tarot, and lots of analogies about dreams. But at the end of the day, there isn't actually anything else quite like those things. We draw all these comparisons to life. We draw all these comparisons to love, but these analogies always fall short, is what I'm getting at. They always fall a little bit short, because at the end of the day, there's nothing else quite like them. And dreams is like that for me. So I will never shut up about encouraging somebody to investigate their own psyche, to investigate your own subconscious, to try to get your conscious and your subconscious in constant communication, or at least in communication, wherever and however you can, and delving into your own dreams. Whether you want to take it as far as trying to lucid dream and astral project or not, you know, that's to each their own. But starting to investigate and starting to try to remember them, if you're still at that stage or you can't even remember them, but starting to try to. I will always encourage that, because no matter how good the reader, no matter how great the psychic, no matter how much these spreads resonate, there's nothing like talking to yourself. There's nothing like getting advice and information about yourself from your own subconscious. No one knows you like you. And we always say, readers always say, you know, free will is at play. So the future is always in flux. It can always change. You know, this might resonate with you today, and then, well, in this case, if it resonates with you today, it's going to resonate with you tomorrow. But a reading might resonate with you one day, and then the next week something has drastically changed because of circumstances, your free will, someone else's. But if you're in constant communication with your own subconscious, and you have that opportunity every single night or day or whatever, 24-hour period, I assume most of you sleep within a 24-hour period, then you can always give yourself current advice relevant to what path you are on right now, which is always, it can always be changing. But if you're in constant communication with your subconscious, you can always be informing yourself about that. And I'm pushing this home so much for you right now, because it's definitely a message here on the table that can be your hope. That can be the thing that you're grabbing onto when no reader or no friend, no advice, no one else, you know, can give you something to hold on to move forward. If this heartbreak is as deep as I'm feeling that it is, that's where you can find your answer. You want your individualized, personalized truth and answer, and that line can be there. I mean, by all means, if you can purchase a personal reading, if you can afford to have an astrologer break down your chart, these things can truly help you evolve, not just heal, but also, you know, you'll go into it hoping to heal and then realize that it's doing more than that. You're evolving too, but you can't, most of us can't afford a session or multiple sessions like that every single day, right? Even if you do one once a week, you still can't do it multiple times a day. With meditation and dreaming and communicating with your own subconscious, you can do it all day, every day for a while, if that's the type of healing that you're required. And it can offer you these personalized tidbits, these even just words and lines for you to hold on to. And I say that I definitely see that message here because of, you know, the Page of Cups, and then followed up with the Moon. There's again a couple of messages I want to get to here, Leo, but also because of the Temperance card as your advice. And I made a note while we were paused. We create our own separations where we could make unified thirds instead. Oh, ads, please just go away and never come back. And the Temperance card is talking about in terms of the spiritual and the material, normally, originally in the story of the tarot, when it suggests that we create our own separations where we could make unified thirds. But here, you know, I'm talking about in terms of your subconscious and your conscious, how that can inform you, how that can push you forward, drag you forward if need be, if that's what's required. But also in terms of in this space of feeling broken from this toxic situation. And maybe it was a Capricorn. Okay, so I keep saying toxic. For a few of you, there's so many, you know, different messages because there's multiple people watching, but For a few of you, it's a heartbreak that regarding a Capricorn. So it wasn't necessarily unhealthy or toxic. And I'm sorry I've painted it that way for those of you that were dealing with a Capricorn, Leos. But regardless, if this is representing, you know, Capricorn season beginning or a specific Capricorn, there's still obviously this heartbreak present, right? And for most of you, it was an unhealthy situation, but an addictive attachment, right? But there's also this we create that same type of separation in this space of heartbreak, Leos. We do. There is what you thought it was, what you wanted it to be, what you hoped it would be, and there is the reality of what it is now. And neither of those things are actually your truth. This heartbreak space is not who you are. It does not define you, and it is not your truth. And obviously, what you thought it was and hoped it was is also not your truth. But this mess, this break that has come to be, and the strength that you have to move through it, that you have to hope and picture something like what you wished that this was, those two things can create a unified third. Like I was saying with my situation, you know, it wasn't pretty when I went through it, but years later, or months later even, and certainly by a year later, it gave me all these gifts. I mean, I had all these psychic abilities, and I was always trying to heighten them in the ways that I could, but it just turned them all up. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what will happen for all of you, but, you know, that's just an example. So there was this new third thing. I was neither living the reality of what I had hoped the two of us would be. That wasn't real. Nor was I this broken thing that I thought I had become. But this somehow this fantasy, my ability to build one, my ability to hope and to pull myself through things with that hope, and what seemed like, you know, a mess that broke me, somehow together they created my truth, which was better than anything I could have imagined. Honestly, truly, it took a while to get there. But it was well worth the pain of getting through it. Better than anything I could have imagined. Stronger, smarter, happier, more awake and alive and aware and prepared than I could. Just a new animal that I could have, a version of myself I could have never imagined. And it's so worth everything that it took to get there. And that's what I see here for you. You know, it's neither the illusion that you had held on to, nor is it this feeling of being broken, but there is a unified third that is coming. There is the actual reality and truth that is coming as a combination of these things. And after delving into your subconscious and finding where your boundaries are now, I do think protecting your boundaries is a wonderful space to be into moving into 2019. And, you know, the Four of Pentacles can often be, you know, holding too tightly to things. So some of you, unfortunately, Leos, you know, you will find yourself still trying to hold on. But I think that's for a very few of you, and it's absolutely your choice. And I hope that it's not for many of you. I think that's for very few. But more so, I definitely see that as protecting your boundaries. Even if it means cutting someone off entirely, not communicating with them at all. That may be what it means. Choosing very wisely who you share your most intimate feelings and information and details about this whole situation with, who you allow to inform you at a vulnerable moment, right? Protecting your boundaries, I think, again, is a great place to be moving into 2019. And again, there may continue to be some confusion. And if you don't heed the advice of listening to your dreams now, you'll find yourself as you move through 2019, through the beginning of it, revisiting that idea. If one of the messages that came through, if it's a Pisces that makes an offer to you, that could be particularly special. And moving into 2019, you may say, no, I'm not ready. I'm protecting my boundaries. I don't know about you. I don't know about anybody besides myself right now. And that's fair. You're just out of this toxic situation. That's fair. But I think that they'll still hang around, keep a friendship with them. And then moving into like the end of January, maybe the beginning of February, I'm feeling it out, but I'm kind of guessing, you know, don't hold me to these specific times. You may revisit that Pisces idea. That's, again, specific and just for some. But either way, once you do this, this delving into your subconscious, and you do that type of, again, therapeutic healing work for yourself. Some of you EMDR, more extreme. Some of you just dreams and tarot and writing and things that you can do at home alone. Either way, there's success on the other side of it. Okay, and I see that as success in terms of healing, but also success in terms of material wealth. You know, the Seven of Pentacles is it does represent success, and it's pentacles. You know, it's earth energy, so like literal, tangible success. You know, having more energy, having more time for the things that you want to, maybe literally having more money and resources because you've done the work to heal, and now you can focus on what you need to for yourself. It's interesting though that the Seven of Pentacles is often a success that isn't what you thought it would be. And I just got done saying to you, my success after all of that type of turmoil, after such a toxic relationship, created a version of myself that was better than anything that I could have imagined. And I normally read the Seven of Pentacles as it's a success that isn't all you wanted it to be. It's just different than you pictured, and kind of in a negative way. But I think for most of you Leos, it's in that exact way that I just described, what it was for me. It's going to be better than you could ever imagine. This version of yourself that is strong enough to overcome all of this, you can't picture it. You can't touch it yet. You can't even fathom it yet. You can't touch it. But at least a few months, I'd say, at least a few months into 2019, but maybe as soon as the end of January, beginning of February for some. Yeah. This success is just, it's not going to be what you pictured. It's not going to be with this person. It's not going to be the fantasy that you had laid out, but it will be better. It will be better. The version of you that will be there. To imagine, you know, to have the strength and to have these new kindred spirits and like-minded individuals that have filled that space in your heart. It's going to be better. It's going to be better than you would have imagined. You're going to be better than you could have imagined. And here, you know, and here's your truth. Here's your new perspective. Here's your fresh, honest, new perspective. And then we have the Six of Cups below that, right? Which is often, you know, nostalgia, fond memories. And like I said, this person, this abusive energy from my past, I can now, years later, look back and be thankful, be grateful. I mean, no, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Certainly, you know, don't get me confused. I would not wish that experience on anybody, but I love who I am, and I love this strength, and I love, you know, I woke up and I was already pretty awake, but I woke up in new ways. I love this awareness. I love knowing that I've overcome these things and these heightened psychic abilities. What? I mean, it just learned so much about myself and needed to. And it didn't necessarily need to be so harsh, but I think, again, that's what we're looking at. Standing in the light of your truth, post-confusion, post-turmoil, post-heartbreak, post-toxins, right? And you can see how the light hits the end of that sword there too. Standing in the light of your actual, authentic, genuine truth, wielding it. Look at the power with which she wields it, right? Nothing can take that from her now. And I don't mean to say just her, you know, him or her. Nothing can take that from me. now. Nothing will be able to take that truth from you once you find it. And there's some confusion, and there's some need to get your subconscious and conscious in constant, or I keep saying constant communication, but in more communication with each other. And I don't think that you're necessarily going to want to return to this person. I still don't want to talk to that individual, etc. But I'm able to look back and appreciate the gift that experience and that energy was. Like, wow, thanks. And I think that's what we're looking at here. You finding the truth after all of this. Like I said, the unified third. Neither the fantasy that you're parting ways with, nor the heartbreak that you're neither the fantasies that you're parting ways with, nor the heartbreak that you're currently immersed in, but what fantasy and break, what fantasy, the ability to fantasize, the ability to dream, combined with breaking, can create together. The illusion, the mirage breaking down, combined with listening to your dreams and creating a new dream for yourself, can create this truth. Well, the truth is there, it's within you, but can help you find it, can help you wield it. And once you have a hold of this, no one can take it from you. It's not just what you want, it's who you are. And then, from that space, it's so easy to look back not only at this situation and this person, not only to look back at that as a gift and thank you for what you've given me, thank you for the strength you've helped me find within myself, thank you for exiting so that these new energies could enter, etc. But you'll be able to look at everything in your past as a gift. Every mistake, every argument, every time you beat yourself up. Oh, I let this drag on too long. How did I let this happen to me? Did I cause someone else pain as I was letting this happen to me? Like I said, I think a lot of you are carrying a lot of that weight right now and need to forgive yourself. You need to be good to yourself. Take care of yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself so that we can, so that you can help us. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now and help anybody else. I mean, my channel's not even that big, and I couldn't tell you how many people just in a matter of months have said thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and reached out for personal readings and donated to me because they were so grateful that just a general reading helped them so much, etc., etc. I couldn't have helped any of those people if I didn't forgive myself. So forgive yourself so that you can help us, please, if you can't do it for you. But you'll find it. You'll find it. And once you have a hold of that truth, everything that has led you to this new, unimaginably healthy and unimaginably sane and connected place will seem, it will be very, very clear, very obvious and clear that it was all meant to be. Each of those false steps were actually carefully placed stepping stones. And just one final note that only applies to a few of you. I always do that. I keep talking about EMDR, eye movement disassociation and reprocessing. I keep talking about that as the extreme end of this reading, right? It wasn't extreme, just in case anybody is interested in that, and it so works. It so did for me. It wasn't extreme. It was a really, I mean, there were parts of having to relive the experience that were hard. But aside from that, it was really easy. It was really patient, and it was really calm. And it's an easy answer to someone who had an extremely toxic situation, is what I'm saying. I didn't mean to imply that the process was hard and extreme. No, it was peaceful. and really effective. And it got to a certain point, I should say, it got to a certain point with me where I had an amazing therapist who asked me, worked my ass off to afford her every week, you know, it was worth it. But I had an amazing support system in general, so that I could put each penny toward that, and I was lucky in that way. But if you know, just in case you end up treated by, you know, seeking that type of treatment and treated by someone who doesn't present you with this option, I want to say I had an amazing therapist who said to me at a certain point, she said, okay, now what we would do today is go back and review the situation again. And she asked, you tell me, at this point, do you feel like going back over this again is going to be productive for you? Or do you think at this point we're just ripping a bandage or a scab off of a wound that otherwise would be in the process of healing? And she asked at just the right moment. She knew. And I said, yeah, at this point, I think it wants to heal, and we're just ripping that scab off. And she said, okay. And she let me decide on that point. And so just in case, you know, you're not offered that opportunity, you decide on that, you know, just like you bring your discernment. And I don't mean to be preachy. It's just something I've gone through, and, you know, we can share the messages we can share, but it's, you know, you bring your discernment to that office as well, to that practice too. Yeah, that's, you know, a different type of practice, and someone who feels more, who thinks that they're more of a professional, really, but society treats as more of a professional. But just like you bring your discernment here, you bring your discernment there. So if nobody asks you that, you ask yourself that. At a certain point, it might start to feel like, all right, this isn't productive anymore. We're just going over something that is ready to heal. Only you know that. And again, keeping a constant conversation going between your conscious and your subconscious, by investigating your dreams, by meditating, by writing down what you find in those spaces, can really keep you informed about that if you are afraid that you might have trouble discerning exactly when that point is. Because for me, I'm always in constant conversation, at least through my dreams and in meditation like that. So I wouldn't even really know. I should credit so much of the fact that I know where those stopping points are for me. Like, I know where my boundaries are, etc. because of that. I wouldn't know how much of it to attribute to that. I can maybe attribute all of my knowing where things stop and start like that for me to the fact that I keep that constant conversation going, which is another reason why I advocate for it so much. But I think this is probably the longest reading with all of that said, Leos, so I will have to leave it at that. I so hope that this helped in some way. I hope I wasn't too preachy. Just, you know, that's just wise advice from the tarot, and what has helped me on my path, you know, just sharing what I can from my experiences. And I hope it offered you some insight or just something you didn't have. And I thank you so much for being here with me. I love you, Leos, and I will post another tarot fix for you very soon.